Hi, and welcome to The Bright Balloon, a podcast where I'm sharing bright ideas for your balloon business. My name is Sarah Meyer, and I'm a balloon business owner like you, and I love the creative side of what I do, but I really love the business side, which seems to be the part where most people struggle. So I'm here to help. Each week, I'm bringing you an episode full of bite-sized tips you can use to make improvements in your business. I want you to make more money, eliminate stress, and learn along with me as we grow our creative businesses together. Welcome to The Bright Balloon, presented by 17 Hats. Hello and welcome to another episode. Today is an interview with Allison, the owner of Tuftex. So it's very exciting to have a manufacturer on the show to talk about how they make their balloons, how she got into the balloon business. It is a really interesting story. What's next for Tuftex? And I'm so excited that she took the time to share with us. It was a very fun, very easy interview, and I know that you will enjoy it. And personally, I'm thrilled that this podcast has grown to the point where I can get people like Allison on to chat about balloons and about what is next for her company. So this feels like a bit of a milestone for me as well. Really quick, before we jump into the interview, as you know, we have the You Glue hotline, which depends on tips and questions from you guys. So as a bit of an incentive to kind of finish off the year strong with great tips and great questions, I am offering anybody who calls in and leaves a message on the You Glue hotline a free download. So you will receive a link to download the custom color chart. So this is a Canva template, and you have access to all of the colors in all of the brands, and you can mix and match and build your own custom color chart. So this is one of the keys to keeping my brand really profitable, because I only offer my clients the option to buy the colors that I keep in stock. So I'm not always running out and buying whatever color they pick. So this is going to be kind of my little thank you to you if you take the time and call into the You Glue hotline. And you will go straight to voicemail. You don't have to be worried that I'm going to pick up and surprise you. It goes directly to a voicemail line, and that number is linked in the show notes. So click that, call in, and leave us a great tip. All right, let's head over to the You Glue hotline right now and then get into this awesome interview with Allison Will of Tuftex Balloons. Welcome to the You Glue hotline, where we discuss great advice that sticks. Brought to you by Pro Tapes. If you have a question or some great advice to share, click the link in the show notes to call in and leave a voicemail. Hey guys, surprise! It's me calling into my own hotline because I received a tip via word of mouth from my friend Tiffany Burley, who owns a Pop of Color in Texas, and I was complaining to her about knot lamps, those cheap lamps that you can get from Walmart or IKEA, and they twist together in sections. I was telling her how more and more I've gotten frustrated with them because they tend to fall apart. They're making them flimsier and flimsier to the point where the sections will just break apart mid-delivery. And she gave me the simplest tip that I had to pass on, and that is to just glue your sections together. So she suggested that craft and jewelry glue. It's called E6000, and it bonds metal. So as you're screwing your sections together, just add a little dab of glue, twist it into place, and then those knot lamps are not going to break apart. So thank you so much, Tiffany, for that great tip. I had to pass it along. Pro Tapes is a leading manufacturer of specialty tape products like Pro Gaff, Pro Artist Tape, and our favorite balloon tape, You Glue, which helps you create amazing balloon arrangements and decorations in less time. You can save 5% on You Glue when you buy directly from Having a Party using code BRIGHT at checkout. All right, welcome to this episode. Allison, you are our first manufacturer to ever be on the podcast, so I'm very excited to speak with you.
Wow, that's a great honor. I'll take that as an honor.
Yeah, so
I'm excited.
If people have been living under a rock, you own Tuftex, and you do more than own it. You're very involved. You run it, you design the colors. You're not just a hands-off owner. So I'm so excited to chat with you about everything you've been working on, future plans. We have some questions from listeners that I got off Instagram today. So excited to have a fun conversation. But first, let's start with an introduction. Who are you, and how in the world did you get to own a balloon company?
Okay, so I am Allison Will. My husband, Mike, and I bought Maple City Rubber, which is the factory here in Norwalk, Ohio, that produces the brand Tuftex balloons. This factory's been here since 1915. And so about 6.5 years ago, my husband came home one day and had talked to an accountant friend who just said that it was up for sale. He was like, do you want to go through it with me tomorrow? And I'm like, oh, sure. Just being nosy, like, let's see the factory.
Yeah.
And next thing you know, like a month later, I'm like signing on the dotted line, like my life away. No, but we had planned to keep the management team that was here in place. And they did stay on for several years. A few retirements and that sort of thing kind of came about. But before, I really didn't have plans to leave my current job at the time to come here. I just thought we could kind of manage from afar. But as anyone else probably could tell, we needed to be here. And so shortly after we bought it, maybe 3 months later or something, I came on full time here. And one of our sons, we have 5 sons, our second oldest son came here full time as well. And so I've been here ever since.
And what was your job before?
I am a licensed funeral director and embalmer. So that's what I had done. That's what I went to college for. That's really been a love. Like, it's just been something I've always done, and I love it and I miss it. And I still do it a little bit, but nothing so far in 2023. I've had to turn down every person who's asked me because it's just been so crazy busy here that I can't pull time away anymore. But
yeah. Okay. So I knew that, but I think it's such an interesting question. Did you have any funeral directors in your family? I feel like a lot of times that's a family business. How did you get into that?
it really is. It is a family-based business. And no, I have no idea why I got into it. Truthfully, I can't even remember. I had hardly even been in a funeral home, and I was in college taking nursing classes. And somehow, I think something happened in one of the classes where they were talking about, it was maybe in psychology or something. And I'm just like, oh, I should look into like death care. And once again, next thing you know, I was at mortuary school instead of nursing school. And it really is, like I said, it's just a passion that I've had that I really have found a lot of meaning with.
So when you say that you still do a little bit, do you mean like the
Mhm.
funeral director stuff or like embalming? You like dip your toe in every once in a while to embalm someone?
No, I was just doing funeral directing. I actually have not embalmed in about 10 years.
Okay.
So even
You were like, sometimes people ask, and I was like, aren't they dead?
no. So I met my funeral director friends.
Okay.
They'll ask,
Okay.
very busy, or someone's, just had a surgery and they need someone to cover. I worked at a funeral home for a long time. And so a lot of them there are like family. So they ask from time to time if I could just help out. But I had not embalmed in several years, even before I left the funeral home,
Okay.
because just kind of our roles at the funeral home, I was only performing funerals and meeting families and things. So that's kind of what I was better at.
And so this is kind of a change. I mean, now you're really in a creative, but very business oriented role. And you said that wasn't necessarily the plan. You didn't really have it thought out before you purchased.
Yeah. So like I said, there was a president here and COO and that sort of thing. And we just thought that team, could go on taking care of everything. And they were great, believe me. But we just found out very quickly that we should be more involved, especially since we had, I always say signed like a mortgage, a really big mortgage on the place. And we just wanted to make sure that things were, we were comfortable with things that were going on and that we knew everything.
Yeah.
So at the time, my husband and I were both working full time. So we just looked at it from he made more money than I did. So, it was easier for me to come over. We own another business and he runs that. And at the time it was like, well, which one do I want to work at? Neither one was the funeral home. So it's like, whatever, no. But it was a really big learning curve for me.
Well, yeah, that's what I mean. It's not like you did decor and you kind of knew the balloon world. Like it was just all new. So what was that like? What did you even do? I mean, it was overwhelming for me to learn how to make a column when I first started. I can't imagine learning how to like make a balloon.
Yes. So truthfully, the whole first year, I was just like, it's like a blur. I was lost. I would sit at a desk and like what do I do? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously I would go to management team meetings and things like that, but truthfully, I don't know how to make a balloon. I did spend a week to 2 weeks at every position in the factory when I first started.
Oh, okay.
So I did work out on the line with someone, obviously, never sunk in how to do it. Most of our employees, they're pretty specialized and they know, our machines and all of that. So I did not pick that up on that. That's really not usually, I'm not very mechanical to tell you
Yeah.
the truth. So I don't know. It was a very hard year for me because I didn't know anything about balloons. I didn't know anything about manufacturing. And besides the funeral home, I really didn't know anything about any other kind of business.
Yeah.
It's a small funeral home. There were only maybe a handful of us that even worked there. So to go
Yeah.
from there, I still consider this a small business. I know that probably to most people it's not, but it's not a huge corporation. But even going from the funeral home to a place, with the dozens and dozens of, coworkers, it was different.
Yeah.
When we purchased the factory, we purchased it from the original family. It was descendants of the people who started the business. So things had been done the same way for generations. So it was kind of difficult for our co-workers to kind of navigate a new owner as well.
Yeah.
There were a lot of different things to consider at the time, as well as all of a sudden, here comes another helium crisis, which we didn't even know there were other helium crises.
Yeah. Right.
So we had to kind of navigate that because Tuftex at that time was totally known for our 17-inch balloons, mostly in standard colors, because a lot of people use them for promotional purposes. So on car lot, at apartment complexes, just kind of like highlighting, we're open, that sort of thing. And with the helium crisis came kind of a crisis with like, how are we going to sustain our business? Because, sales were dropping. Less people had, they couldn't use the helium as much. And that's what a lot of our customers really depended on for their use. So we all came together as a management team. My husband came on for that as well. And we kind of did some strategic planning and decided, well, at one of the meetings, I'm like, there's some people, they take these balloons, they don't have to use helium. They somehow like wrap them all up. I didn't know, I'm like, I'm just seeing it on Facebook
Yeah.
and Instagram or whatever. At the time, I was hardly even on either one of those platforms. And I'm like, I don't know how they do it. It's like maybe with some kind of wire. I don't know.
Yeah.
And, let's try to get some of those customers. And so we refocused our business and started trying to cater to balloon decor.
Was Tuftex the name before you bought, or did you bring that name in?
No, it's been the name for decades and decades.
Oh, okay. Because I am trying to think of this timeline here. I'm 8 years in to business and I'm familiar with Maple City Rubber because the first job I ever got, these people were like, we bought the balloons. Can you inflate them? And I was like scared of them because they were so thick. They were like what you said, those promotional ones. I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And then was your first year at Float when you got up and made that speech on stage?
No, that was actually, so I'm trying to think of what years those were.
I know
went
they
to
all blur together.
I know the first year I went to Float, I basically stood back in a corner and like shook and was like, what the heck is going on in this?
Were you like blown away? Were you like, I can't believe how people are using these?
Yes. And we were in a corner. The president of our company at the time was with me, and as well as a salesperson at the time. And we had no idea. They'd never been to Float. I had never been around balloon people, I'm kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on here, But at that time, which I believe would have been 2018, our sign probably said Maple City Rubber because that's what the former business operated under.
Okay.
And then the brand was Tuftex Balloons. So when we bought the business, we did not use that Maple City Rubber. We have our own, we actually have a separate business name, but we use Tuftex Balloons to operate as for everything else. It was very confusing for the consumer because they're like, hey, I don't understand who's Maple City Rubber. And it was kind of broken in that piece of all of the, the website and everything was maple city rubber. It was very just kind of challenging for people. So
Yeah. So then was one of your main focuses, I mean, I'm assuming the branding and the marketing. I mean, because in the last several years, obviously there have been huge changes and like kind of the classic car dealership solid color balloons. In my opinion, that is not what you are known for. So I think you are known for like modern, trendy, cutting edge, beautiful, like those muted color, like always coming out with cool colors. So where did that change happen? I'm assuming it was you.
Well, so it was our team at the time when I talked about that strategic planning session, when we sat down and decided to go after to try to sell balloons to balloon artists, professionals. I mean, at the time, we weren't even making fives. We didn't have fives. A lot of our colors only came in 17s. So we had to transition some of them into 11s and 24s and 36s. So we decided we have to make fives, and we decided at the time, like, how are we going to stick out? There are all of these competitors, which at the time were fewer than there are now, but it was like, how are we going to stick out? We all have pink. We all have, lime green. We all have baby blue. How are we going to, stick out? What's going to make us different? And between my son, Doc, and I truthfully don't remember which one of us it was, but we just decided we have to make some, quote, weird colors so that, we stick out. And we came up with that first collection, which debuted at Float. And that, I believe, is the year that I gave that speech where I said I was going to get sexier. So, Tuftex was going to.
Because I was new too. So I just assume everyone's been there forever. And I was like, who's that? I love her.
Yes. So we made that first collection of naturals, which was Willow, Fog, Blue Slate, and Canyon Rose. And Desiree from Badass Balloons did our balloons for the booth. And I remember kind of put them up overnight because we were working until like, you know how it is. It's we only had specific times to put these balloons up. And it was like 12:30, 1 o'clock, we're putting them up. And Stephen Jones comes by and he's looking at it and, he's probably tired and ready for bed or whatever. And he was just like, I don't know whether I love these or hate these,
I was crying. I would have been like, please, I'm tired.
I will never, ever forget it because I literally did. I'm not a crier usually, but I went back to up to the hotel room and I was just like, I don't know actually if I cried, but I was very close to crying.
Yeah, because you're like, awesome. That's exactly what I want to hear going into my first big day at the showroom.
Well, you just don't know. And he just was like, these are so, they just were strange colors. And so for a month or two, we hardly sold any,
Really?
And I think
because I remember your booth. Oh, well, I remember Desiree because she is so awesome. I remember walking by your booth and like stopping and taking a picture and being like, what am I looking at? Because like, that sounds so silly now, but like, even what was that, 5, 6, 7 years ago? Like all the balloons, like you said, they were all red, orange, yellow, green. Like there weren't any different colors. So seeing that was like, holy cow, this is what people want.
Yeah. So it took a few months before, obviously, a lot of the people who we had selling the balloons at the time, a bunch of them bought them, but it took a bit for people to actually see them. And I would have to reach out to people via Instagram and say like, could I please send you like a bunch of balloons and would you make something? Because I had no content. I didn't know anyone really in the industry. So I had no content to even post to try to get to sell things, And so
I remember someone reaching out and it wasn't you. And I think it was when it was still operating under the Maple City Rubber name. It must have been a salesperson or something and asking like, if I had feedback. And I think my feedback was like, I don't know where to get these. Like, I can't order these anywhere. So have you expanded to quite a few distributors since then?
Yes, everything kind of just naturally went in a progression where at that time we were selling direct to the consumer.
Oh, so interesting.
That's just how they had always operated. And so you could call yourself and order 2 bags of balloons, or we could have someone, a large company call and order, whatever, X amount of balloons, large amounts of balloons. And so we figured out really quickly, just for efficiency's sake, like we need to cut this down and we transformed into a distributor model. And that's where we are now. We have a great set of distributors in the US. We have internationally that it's growing and growing. And so we're really happy with that, but it is all through distributor now.
That's very cool. All right. Well, let's take a quick break. And then I have some questions from listeners. There's a lot of them and they're really good. So if you would be open to that, we can answer some of those.
Sure.
Are you ready to take your balloon business to the next level? Look no further than Having a Party Wholesale, your ultimate destination for all things balloons. At Having a Party Wholesale, they're not just a distributor, they're your partner in success. With the latest and greatest in balloon innovations, they're on the cutting edge of new products that will wow your clients. From top brands like Tuftex, Jamar, Anagram, Ellie's, Premium Conwin, and more, they've got the widest selection to fuel your creativity. Elevate your balloon business with premium quality balloons and accessories that'll make every event unforgettable. Join the successful league of professional balloon artists who shop at haveinaparty.com. Okay, welcome back. We are going to jump into some of our Instagram questions. And one thing we were talking about before the break ties into someone's question here. So I'm going to start with that one. Someone wants to know, are you expanding to more distributors or are you set? It's kind of a nosy question, but I think that's an interesting idea. Like, I don't know how any of that works. I would imagine if you have 1 million distributors, you kind of cannibalize your own business, right? Or how do you decide what happens there?
Right. So it is, like you said, it's a fine line, between having too many, not enough, that sort of thing. Right now, we are very happy with the number of distributors that we have in the US. We are growing internationally in other parts of the world, but right now, no, we are not accepting more distributors in the US. There are wholesale opportunities within that distribution network, though. So we get this question a lot, especially for people who are interested in opening up their own balloon shop or maybe online, sales somehow. And what we do is we refer them to distributors. And most of our distributors have a wholesale program, so they can have an opportunity to buy balloons at a bigger discount than someone who's just purchasing as, a consumer.
Oh, interesting. So do you need like a retail license or something to qualify for that? Or you just have to hit a certain quantity?
There's no sort of license. It just dependent on what distributor you talk to. Some of them may have quantity levels that you need to hit, or they may have expected timeframes that you reorder. They all have their own things.
Interesting. So you're not involved in that. You let them sell however they want to sell.
Correct.
Perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one, I don't know if you'll have an answer yet, but I'm also curious. Will there be another Tuftex Experience next year?
So I can say that there won't be a Tuftex Experience in Cleveland next year. I think you'll see some pretty fun things going on, but we're not really ready to talk about.
Okay. Let's talk about this year, though. How did it go? I was not there because I'm an idiot and I booked my weekend. I couldn't be there and I really, really wanted to. But from your point of view, how did it go? Because that's a huge undertaking.
It really was. I think it was a very successful event. It was very, very busy. It was a huge undertaking. And, that's why we're still kind of taking a breath.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was, 3 months ago, but it feels like it was just a few weeks ago. Truthfully, we spent a lot of the year working on that. And as you know, because you've done, a large event, that a lot of the other things kind of, get pushed off onto this other stack. And
yeah.
I'm still kind of recouping from that. And like I said earlier, I think a lot of your listeners would probably see us as this really large company, but we're really not that large. Most of us on our team that were at the experience all were very hands-on in planning, and we're all still, like I said, kind of catching up from things. We don't have we're all doing a lot of things here.
Yeah.
So,
well, I heard such great things about it. I heard it was very organized. I heard people loved the instructors and learned a ton. So congratulations. Because I think the other thing too, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, but things like float, there's a lot of manufacturers involved, which means that there's, I would imagine, a lot more people pitching in financially. A lot of those instructors are sponsored. The price is a bit higher. I mean, like what you charged attendees was not a lot. And you were one company doing this whole thing. So I would imagine that the planning and the financial obligation were astronomical. So I think considering it all came from one source, it looked incredible and it looked well branded. And I was so sad I wasn't there. I had the worst FOMO. I was like checking in with people, like, how's it going? And no one would respond. I was like, ah.
Well, you'll have to be at the next, activity that we have.
Oh,
so,
I would love that. I can't wait. All
yeah.
right, let's move on to, this is a specific one, and I haven't personally looked for one of these lately, so maybe is a new color portfolio in the works?
Yes. Actually, we just had a little meeting about that this afternoon, right before I came on with you. So yes, we have a new one that we anticipate in 2024.
Okay. And I'm assuming they want that because of the new colors.
Yes. So the current portfolio is missing 7 colors.
Okay.
As you know, we come out with a lot of new colors, and the portfolios are really difficult for us to kind of get taken care of. What the biggest problem, truthfully, has been is that we just don't have balloons here. And so, some of the colors we only manufacture a handful of times a year because they're just not as popular. And so for us to have a complete portfolio, to be able to assemble dozens and dozens and dozens, we have to have every single balloon. We can't give them out and say, oh yeah, well, it's missing 6. So just have fun finding them somewhere,
Right.
But so we just decided, we kind of are just going to do one maybe every year and see how that goes. And
well, I have a custom color chart, like a digital download that I have, and I haven't announced this yet, but I've given up. I'm discontinuing it. Everyone's coming out with so many good colors. I'm like, I can't keep up. Everyone's on their own. So let's talk more about colors though, because Jasmine from Balloon River, she is curious how you come up with the new colors. Do you just think of something? Do you survey any artists? Like, where do you come up with those?
Well, it's been different all along the last 3 years that we've been doing this, 3+ years. And I mean, doing the new colors. At the beginning, those first 4 colors that we talked about earlier, the Naturals collection, like I said, I was just trying to make a statement. I was going for opaque. I'm like, we want, I'm confident that we have a great quality balloon, but I truthfully at the time was like, I don't really like to see anything through it. So if we're going to make balloons, like, let's make them opaque.
Mm-hmm.
And so those colors, though, Doc and I were just basically fumbling around in the dark, like, let's make up something like this green, we were just guessing. I mean, it was like, whatever, I was kind of going back to like the 1990s where mauve and, dusty blue couches, everybody had one.
Yeah.
And that in my head. And truthfully, I think at the time I'd seen something on Pinterest and it was like, oh, let's go for these colors. They're kind of different. And then other colors along the way are colors that I've seen people double stuffing a ton to get. So when we came out with our fall collection, that's how mustard was definitely put in there, burnt orange. People would constantly send us messages saying like, how can I get this mustard? So I was trying to stick just probably like what you did when you were developing that, is just like, how many things can I stick in a yellow balloon or a golden rock, whatever. And, with mustard, it's a funny story that always sticks in my head, but somebody here who's, one of my coworkers, she's worked here for 15 plus, maybe 20 years at that time. And she was on the line making the 11-inch mustard for the first time. And I walked by and she kind of just held it up and she was like, this is the ugliest balloon.
I love it.
And I'm like, oh no, but once again,
what's wrong with people telling you this stuff? They're so mean. I'm so sensitive. I would just be like, oh, I quit.
Well, it really was a different type balloon color, especially for, compared to all the colors they'd done for years and years here. But people they loved mustard. I mean, there was nothing like it. And then you didn't have to double stuff. So some of the colors come from that, I guess, thought process. Other things are maybe we just have, like with pinks, it's like, oh, you could never do too many pinks. That's kind of how Pixie came about. It's like, let's have a fun pink somewhere between pink and purple, because it just seems like people use all sorts of pinks all the time. Lace, that one and Cameo were kind of our like, let's get this down, because I really think this, nobody has anything like this.
Yeah, I still don't. I still don't think anyone does have a Cameo.
Yeah, I don't know. That one, and lace, actually, both of them were very hard to get to, because as I do it more and more, I get more and more particular,
Okay, wait, you have to pause. You have to talk about this, because I was lucky enough. I got a tour of your factory a couple years ago. And when you say it's a small business, it's your son, Doc, like mixing up little batches of color and you being like, no. And then he does it again and you being like, closer, but no. Like, it's not like you send it off to a lab and someone somewhere else sends you back the latex. Like, talk about how you actually get the color, because that is so fascinating to me.
Yeah. So if I have a color in mind, normally it's me. Sometimes, now that Meg's more involved and here with me, sometimes it's the two of us sometimes, but I basically give Doc a PMS color and he tries to hit it. And sometimes we can match it, or it's something that I'm like really excited about in just a couple tries. Sometimes it can be 15 tries, 20 tries. And when I say he tries to match it, he has to make balloons by hand. And Doc has a degree in English as well as accountancy. So we had a chemist here and he retired a few years ago. He actually tried to teach me how to make a balloon, how to do, I always call it the recipe.
Yeah.
And he tried twice. He was kind of like, I said, could I come back with you and watch you? And maybe I could learn. I think like halfway through the first time, we both knew like, this isn't going to be good. But Doc, he just naturally picked it right up. And he has such a great personality for it, because he really is just pretty calm and patient.
Okay.
And so when he brings a balloon in and he sees my face kind of like, pucker up like, heck no, that's awful, and truthfully, we're family members. So it's not the same as when you work somewhere and it's your coworker and, we're pretty open with one another. And so it can be hard. It can be challenging in that regard, because every time he does it, it takes like 3+ hours to make.
Well, yeah, because I'm just realizing it's not necessarily the color of the latex. It's like what it looks like dried and inflated, right? So you can't really know right away.
Yes. So he has to go through this entire process. And like I said, sometimes he'll have already done it like 13, 14 times.
Oh,
and it's 3+ hours depending on, different things. And he'll bring it in and you just kind of see his shoulders slump like, oh no, I have to do this again tomorrow.
Have you ever had like a disaster? Well, not a disaster, but has anything ever gone wrong? But you're like, actually make a note of that, because that's what I like, that color. It's not what we were going for, but like, let's actually keep that.
Yes, we've had that several times. We have. I could tell you Fiona's like that.
Oh, interesting.
We're not going for that shade. And Fiona's a really unusual shade. I love greens. It's like my favorite family of color. He brought it in. I feel like he thought, oh, this is like not what she's looking for. And a lot of times what I'll have to do is I have a kind of like, I'm not sure, like, let's put it down over there on the floor. And I'm going to go walk it around later in different lights, because, you've been in the factory. This building's been here since
a factory. Yeah.
And yeah, so some areas have different lights and a lighting. So sometimes I won't think that it's a winner, but then after I look at it for a while, it is.
Oh, that's interesting. Very cool.
Yeah, it's fun. It really is.
Are you looking to grow the number of businesses you're working with? From the small retail shop doing a grand opening in your downtown, to the large Fortune 500 that has a fulfillment center or a warehouse or a large office building in your community. On the Balloon Suite blog, you can find the details on how to find and approach businesses of all types and of all ranges and size, so that you can grow your sales and grow your revenue per order. Come on over to the Balloon Suite blog to learn more at balloonsuite.com.
Let's see. This isn't really a question you have to answer, but I think it's nice. Jas Balloon Decor says, did you ever think that your balloons were going to be the best out there?
Oh, I would say no, because truthfully, I'm not very like a confident like that. I mean, some people are just have that natural confidence, like, oh, we're going to, show everybody. I know that our balloons are great quality. I knew that. I was confident in that, but it's hard for me to kind of say that, like, I mean, I'm glad that we've been able to help people with different colors, because that's, that for me is kind of the most fun thing.
Yeah.
Is like, with everyone, people who are just in this journey, they're new balloon artists, or they've only been doing it for a couple of years, you kind of learn and you're proud of things over time. And that's kind of what I'm proud of, is that shift in, this industry can have different colors. So I don't know what makes a best, the best, but that is one thing I'm proud of.
Well, you're very humble. And I think just from your story, it sounds like you never came into this industry with the idea of taking it over and like killing all the other brands. Like, it just seems like something you are good at and enjoy, and that you care about providing for your customers. So I think that's very honorable.
Well, thank you. I'm not a very competitive person. So what you said, that wouldn't normally be like the way I, like, oh, we're going to take this thing. That's just not kind of how I, and I just kind of like I said, the impact, making an impact in the industry with color for me has been great. So
very cool. Okay. Let's end on a couple light ones again about your color. I am curious what your top selling color is, if it's something totally obvious or if it's rare, and what you personally think your most underrated color is, one you love that you wish sold more.
So I should probably know this about what our top selling our top selling color is. I would say it's white for sure, but I'm just guessing. I think we could make lace every day, all day.
Really?
And yes, we have lots and lots of lace all the time on order, but I believe that our top selling color is white. I don't look at that often. We have meetings, quarterly meetings on different things. I don't look at our financials. That's not really my space here.
Sure.
It is more, like you said, branding, social media, events, I guess just the marketing aspect of this place, even though I have no marketing degree. So that really makes me, I don't really even like to say that. It's just kind of like, we just do the things here. You know what I mean? We just get them done. But I do not get involved in our orders at all. I mean, I do talk with our customers, but not about specific products. It's just more about, things that are going on.
Yeah. So then, since you maybe don't know the sales exactly, what is your favorite color?
Definitely my favorite color is fog.
Oh, okay.
I love fog. And when you asked about the underrated color, I don't really know. I think I might have to say sea glass. I think sea glass is a great color. I don't know where it falls into our list of, top colors or anything else, but I don't see it. I mean, obviously it gets used, but I really think it's a great, great color. It just has like personality.
Yeah. And do you name all the colors, or do you have help with that?
I name all of the colors except sea glass. It's funny now that you say that, because I thought it would be fun at the time. That was in a collection as well, with Cameo and Stone and I can't remember the other. But anyway, I let my coworkers kind of come up with that. Everyone at the factory, some people suggested names, and then we took like all of them, and then they voted on the sea glass. So that was not what I wanted. I don't remember what I wanted for it myself, but I would not have named it sea glass. I only like to have names that only have one word, because when you're doing a lot on Instagram or Facebook, it's much easier. It's much easier to have one word, like Cameo. So I look for, I'm kind of giving you a secret here, but I can't, I'm trying to do things quickly, and I don't want to have, forest green. Then it's a lot longer than lace. So that's kind of what I look for. So
neat. All right, well, let's wrap up. Where is the next place that we can see you?
Well, I just got back from the New York City Balloon Ball, and in 3 weeks, I'll be out in LA. We're having a couple classes out there, just day-long classes. And so 2 days of classes out there with 2 of our distributors. And then maybe 2 weeks after that, I'm going to the UK Balloon Artists Awards.
Oh, cool.
So we're sponsoring the main award for the night. So I'll be going over there for that. It's basically just a big party. So I'm excited because, I won't have to do much work.
Yeah.
I may help on Harid over there is going to do some of our decor. So I may try to help her, but probably not. And then we have a presence at Balloon Boss, which
Summit.
I believe.
Yep.
That
was November.
In November. I am not going to that, but Meg is going to be there, and we're sponsoring Confetti Castle there. And then we also are going to have a class in Miami, I believe. I don't know that this is 100%, but it will be with Three Sparrows.
Oh, great. In Miami?
Mm-hmm. In Miami.
Oh, very
She's
fun.
Fly down there like a little birdie.
Jenny's the best. Oh, that's great. And then float, I assume that will be next year, but I'm assuming you'll be around.
Oh yes, we'll have several things before float, but yeah, float.
Oh my gosh, I know. I thought you were just gonna be like, oh, we'll be at this one thing. Like, gosh, you're everywhere.
A lot of things going, which is fun. It's good to be out talking because, as you know, every time you have balloon artists around, it's just there's so much energy. And, you pick up a lot of things, you hear from one person, when are you going to do this? Or why don't you have this? And even at the balloon ball, I had a lady who slipped me a little piece of paper and she had a name suggestion for me. And she's like, here you go. If you name it this, wink, wink, I'll know that it's my name, that kind of a thing. I'm like, okay, but
that's funny.
But it's just fun. So
well, that's very cool. Well, so nice to talk to you. Thank you for being so candid and giving us so many great answers. And I'm just so thrilled for all your success.
Well, thank you, Sarah. It's been really fun. I was kind of nervous. I will have to admit that, but it was great. You made it very easy. So.
Well, good. I'm glad. I had so much fun chatting with you. All right. Well, thank you so much. And we'll see you at one of these many events that you're going to be at in the future. Oh, really quick. Where can people find out about those? Where's the best place to follow you?
Well, we usually always post everything on our Tuftex Balloons Instagram page, but then we also post it on our Tuftex Balloons Facebook page. It's on our website, tuftexballoons.com. There is a tab there for events. And so, yeah, we also have a Tuftex UK page. So if you're in the UK and listening to this, then, you can check that out as well.
Neat. Okay, well, we'll link to those as well in the show notes so that people can just click right over and sign up for any of those events.
Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for listening. As usual, I tried to keep it bright and light. Our presenting sponsor is 17 Hats, the CRM I use to cut the chaos and manage my entire balloon business. From the lead capture form on my website to workflows and email templates, invoicing and grab-and-go garland automated bookings, it's all powered by 17 Hats, the best customer relationship management system for balloon businesses. There's even a 50% off coupon code waiting for you in the show notes wherever you're listening. I'll see you next week in another episode.